Yo, what is going on? It's someone that's no one, and welcome back to another smoke sesh. Today's smoke sesh, we're gonna talk about how I became a stoner, or more so, how my life changed, and just how things just around me, the people around me, my way of thinking, and all this shit just kind of changed just because I decided to smoke on a regular basis. And I think a lot of you guys will find, especially if you are a stoner yourself, you'll find that maybe there's a lot of similarities that you go through once you go through those beginning phases and just kind of develop more of a regular habit of it. But for today, as always, of course, we're smoking in this. We got a nice little joint here. We got it filled with some Gucci OG. This is some gas, some kill. And as always, if you guys want to light up with me, feel free to. But without further ado, let's light up firstly. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. I sure am this morning. So let's get into this. So first off, we gotta get into how I really became a stoner. So if you guys are curious for my first time ever smoking, I do have a video up on the channel, and I actually will leave a link below because it is kind of, I guess, tied to all of this. But before I actually started smoking on a regular basis, I would just kind of smoke here and there, maybe that rare occasion at a friend's house or at a party normally, or something like that. And it was normally accompanied by something else like alcohol, so I never really got into it solely just for the weed alone. But it wasn't until like 3 years ago that I got a pull towards it. So you guys might know the homie Evan. Evan, he's been in a lot of stories on this channel so far, and he's just, the bro for the most part. And we used to do a lot of shit together, a lot of different type of drugs we used to try, and I would consider him like my drug partner for a good portion of time. Me and him both did track and field in high school. That's how we met. And he always used to be like a big drug guy. I remember he used to he came to a track meet the next morning right after a party with a bunch of alcohol and like cocaine and shit. All this crazy stuff, really. Still a good athlete, but anyways. Me and Evan started to party quite a bit, and Evan always would bring some gas, always like a couple blunts or whatever. And I think I both had an interest, and he both wanted me to hang out more. And I know he would just casually just smoke on his own. And there's a kind of a desire to smoke with newbies too, I guess, and whatnot. But anyways, Evan was telling me like, yo, let's smoke sometime, let's get a good smoke session. And I guess this is the really first time I actually considered it like I'm down as fuck to do it. For whatever reason, I guess I just never had the pool before, or just the idea of it. But it was also because we were nearing the end of our track season and whatnot, and I was like, fuck it. So it's just one random day during the day, Evan hits me up and he's like, yo, let's smoke. And he brings some gas, and this is where things just change. We smoke, and I get fried like I've never been fried before, and I started experiencing things and noticing things about the weed high that I never noticed before, that made me much more interested in it. Part of this has to do with the mindset I get when going on it. Now, when I first started smoking, I would just get baked as fuck, and my mind would just kind of reflect on basically my life, people in my life, and I became more appreciative of what I had, and also just entering this kind of lifestyle. I would think about it a lot, and just the type of people and the way people would perceive me and whatnot. But I also just felt amazing from it. Like, there was a sense of euphoria, sense of relaxation, sense of just like chillness. And what we would do, like Evan, he really just brought me into it and showed me like this stoner lifestyle. And we would just basically, a lot of the times, we would go somewhere in the whip, hotbox, blast some music. And I can't argue, like, that experience of just getting stoned as fuck in a car with the music blasting, and we would play like fucking Juicy J all the time. So it was just some classic shit. But nothing beats that experience, I feel like. That's one of the best high experience still to this day to me. But we would also go like see movies, just go smash, take walks or whatever, and I would enjoy all these things a lot more. Like, the recreational value of it just went up like tenfold for me ever since I started smoking. And even still to this day, I feel like a good amount of recreational value is still why I like to use. So it's definitely one of those key interests that kept me there, but also I'd say just the mindset it puts me in. But other people's reactions of me were a bit different ever since I started smoking, because what I did like all the time ever since I began, I would just post like a blunt on the Snapchat, post just me smoking something, whatever, blasting music, something like that, something pretty typical. And people saw this, and especially some close friends who thought of me to like never really be around drugs, or never really be the type to just casually use drugs like that. And some people were like, yo, what's up, what's going on? And I'm just like, I'm doing me. And it's because it's never like I never had an interest in doing drugs. I always had this key set idea that I wanted to explore and really just like find out what these substances can do. And I had that pre-notion since like fucking 13 or whatever. But I'd say for the most part, like after I explained it and shit to these people, they were pretty much on board with it. Though the one thing that was good about just letting everyone know that I was smoking and shit, there was a select group of people that that were already interested, that wanted to hang out, wanted to smoke with me, and that just led to like more socialization, and I would say more, I guess, building of your friendship. There were some people though from my track and field team that I think had a negative view, more mainly towards Evan, because they thought Evan like had more of an influence and he was more responsible for bringing me into that lifestyle than if he wasn't there at all. And I would just say that's not really true, though I would say, Evan did act as like the gatekeeper or whatever and open the gates for me into the shit, because after this I was just heavily more interested in just doing other shit and just finding out what other substances can do. Evan, he was not alone like responsible for my expenditure on all these various different substances I've done in my time. But there are just some people I think out there that still just like have a general like negative connotation with drugs that I associate with, and they look at me different because I've done all this stuff and just like a whole different person, I guess. And I would argue, I probably am, but I'd say I turned out for the better regardless of all the stuff I've done. And not saying that it wasn't negative at all, but for the most part, it turned out really positive. I don't know, it's just some people just have that view and tie drugs with negative lifestyle, I feel like. But then also people's views that kind of put in effect were my family's and who I live with, because sometimes, right after a box, you just walk up in the crib, it's at night, everyone's just chilling or whatever, and, they'll be smelling that shit sometimes, so it's just like, man, I didn't necessarily want the people I was living with to find out, but it just kind of happened, though luckily, my family, for the most part, kind of has like a history with drug usage, and most of my family don't view weed as bad, so it just kind of slid, and I was okay for the most part, just not smoking it inside the house and shit until a bit later on, and that just kind of casually settled out. But once Evan actually started getting me into all of this, I'd say I started smoking like every 4 to 5 days, give or take. Maybe it was like twice a week or something like that, or maybe once a week. That's kind of pushing it though. I think 5 days on average. That's what happened, I think, for like the first month I started smoking, because I kind of did want to limit myself, because I kind of wanted to stay in touch with normalcy, or what I perceived as normalcy. And that's just being stoned and not being stoned. Because the next day I feel like I would kind of feel foggy sometimes. Like, I don't know if it was like effects of an after high or whatnot, but it felt something like that. And I know like there was just such a clear distinction for me in the beginning between being just stoned and sober than compared to now, because I'm smoking a lot now, but it's really different when you're really just getting into it. But eventually, I mean, this turned to, I want to smoke more often, and I think it turned to like 3 times a week. Then it was like 4 times a week or some shit, and I think eventually we were just doing it like, I want to say every day, or like at least every other day or some shit like that. Or it was like every day of the week except like, and Saturday. Saturday, I think Friday and Saturday would be like party nights, and then like Sunday we would just kind of, chill out, not really do shit. Maybe smoke like early in the day, but nothing really. That was just chill family shit probably. But basically, it kind of just started to pick up, and I kind of just gradually got into it, I feel like, by 2 months in, maybe a month and a half in. And the reason, like, why I decided to get so into it and do it more frequently is because I know, like, the effects aren't really that bad for you. I mean, there is the fact of combustion and carcinogens potentially causing respiratory issues, but for the most part, other than that, with graduated use, I was pretty much straight for the most part. Still am straight, but it just kept providing the recreation, just promoted more thinking and whatnot. And, those reasons just pulled me in even more, And I think I was smoking steady for like 5-6 months or something, like quite a bit. I mean, I would probably have like 2 max 3 day breaks, and to me even that's quite a bit now. Ridiculous. But there were certain reasons that I would go on and off like this. One of it was money, okay? motherfuckers aren't trying to go broke when, you know, we're matching a blunt every day or matching a blunt and a half or whatever every day. And, you know, shit just kind of can go, and especially because I don't even think I was working when I started smoking. The bills just can start adding up, is what I'm saying. Not that it's a problem now, because weed partially motivated me to get a job, but what also got me to get off was drug test. Obviously, you know, I'm trying to pass this shit. Gotta get off. I mean, I remember the longest I've gotten off was for urine test, and I believe I was off for like 3 to 4 weeks. And I just wanted to be sure, because I'd never done this shit before, and I was just kind of really anxious and like, you know, I need to pass this shit. But that was one thing that I would go off. But another thing that I would go off is really just kind of just to test myself. Can I go off? And this is kind of where I just, you know, had free periods, and it didn't really matter. Maybe I was trying, there was certain points where I was trying to save some money, but there's, you know, a bit of addictiveness, I know, for me. Why? I just feel like, I don't want to say I need the shit, but I feel like I really like to have the shit. And but I know, like, just my behavior would change, and I would like hit up my plugs more often, or like just look at what they got and wondering, you know, what's up with their shit. And I would just follow these little cycles, I know, and I just would end up getting some weed, like, oh, maybe I should just smoke now, then stop for a little bit and smoke again. Then it turns to like, all right, let me just smoke every night, and it's just now just let me just smoke for the most part. So if you were really to ask me, do I think, am I addicted to marijuana? I feel like, yeah, but I don't think it's a bad addiction to have necessarily, especially since I feel like it motivates me to live more. It's a mood enhancer for me. It increases my focus. It relaxes me. I mean, there's just a lot of good things I feel like that comes with it that makes me want to stay, and makes myself convince myself that it's not a bad habit to have. And that's basically why I've chosen to stay, and why I probably most likely will continue to stay smoking, or just consuming THC in all different types of ways, because I like doing fucking dabs. I like edibles and all that shit in the future. Like, I don't really see myself or the rest of my life really without consuming this stuff. And that's just straight up, that's just real as fuck. And as straightforward as I can be about this. And yeah, so here we are now. Big stoner, big toker, always getting high, always getting fried. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys have a lovely day. It's been your boy, Someone That's No One. Got any requests, leave it below. Like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.